Hockey Town, it's a place where dreams are found. We fought so many battles here, now we're the ones that they will fear. The cup resides within our town, we won't stop no letting down. The cup is ours, we're all to drink. It's our time, let's rock this ring.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You are here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Three's Company, Carlo, Zach, and Derek. Boys, happy Sunday. What's going on? How's everyone's weekend so far? Carlo, welcome back. You've been on baby duty the last while, so tell us a little bit about the dad life there, Dad.
It's been great. It's been awesome. It's been obviously an adjustment for sure, but it's been a great adjustment. And yeah, there's just it's kind of hard to explain into words. It's really unexplainable, but it's very powerful. It's probably the best way to sum that up. But it's been a lot of fun, a lot of learning, a lot of it's crazy how instincts completely take over. Like, it's wild. Like, things you didn't realize that you were capable of, you're just suddenly capable of. So that was kind of crazy. It was like the Spider-Man check. It was like, what? Yeah. So it's been fun though. It's been cool. It's been like I said, an adjustment, but it's been great. So no complaints. Yeah, man, it's been fun. I have no idea what day it is. So there's that. I have no clue what day it is. But it's 10 out of 10, man. It's been great. How about you guys? How you been?
Well, before Derek goes on, congratulations to you and your wife on the beautiful, healthy baby girl color.
Thank you.
So that's
give her
great.
Claps.
Pretty soon you'll have to bring her on.
Yeah.
We'll see though. Yeah. We're gonna have to get her a media pass.
Yeah, we'll get her a pass for sure.
Derek, how about you? How's your weekend so far? No babies, right?
Well, I did see a bunch of babies yesterday, but no, I do not personally have any myself, nor is that in the near or far future for me. It's but congratulations, Carlos. I'm happy for you, buddy. Not my cup of tea, but I'm happy for you, bud. Have fun with that little girl. It's going to be a different experience for sure for you for the next at least 18 years. So have fun.
It's going to be it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
We'll live vicariously through you, obviously, Carlo.
That's no problem. And for any new dads out there, feel free to hit me up. We can chat. Us dads stick together.
Down in the comments, send him DMs, thanking him, congratulating him, whatever you want to give him. Mad props to you and your wife, Carlos. So once again, congratulations
guys.
On the healthy baby girl.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
And without further ado, my weekend was great. Just did the normal stuff. My roommate's parents came down to visit, so we hung out with them with the University of Toledo football game since he works for the campus. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. They ended up winning. Yep.
Nice.
So went out, got some pizza. Watched the U of M game, sad that they lost, but so did the Red Wings. It's super unfortunate. And so did the Tigers. Bad day for Michigan sports fans out there. Definitely. So, hey, times are turning, right? We're turning the page. We're moving forward. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. But before we do, actually, why don't you go ahead and take a second and hit that subscribe button if you are new. But if you're returning, thank you for joining us once again. Hit that thumbs up button. You guys are doing a really good job at that. Let's get that trending to 30 likes. That really does help us out. That is free to do, to subscribe and to hit that thumbs up button. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Spotify or Apple, why don't you go ahead and hit that follow button if you have not already, and then rate us 5 stars. Doing that is free as well. And boys, I actually didn't mention this before we started recording or at any point in time, really. Maybe I did actually last week, but I have hinted that we did not end up giving up this sealed Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead. So we are going to be doing a Twitter giveaway for this. So if you are following us on Twitter, or if you're not, go ahead and hit the follow button. Go ahead and repost it. So retweet it and then comment a photo of you being subscribed to our podcast. That will get you your entry into winning this sealed Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead. We did the Nicholas Lidstrom last time, so that got stuck in my head. But I do want to throw in a couple extra things. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get them on camera here, but I do have quite a few of Detroit Red Wings hockey players' cards. One is Dylan Larkin. The other is Jonathan Berggren. This one is Moritz Seider. It's actually numbered 109 out of 799. And
Ooh.
then also this Marco Casper hockey card as well. Kind of looks like a credit card at the end there, or like a key. I really don't know how to describe it. But yes, these will also, all 4 of these cards will be in the giveaway, included with the Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead giveaway. So make sure to enter. Go on Twitter. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and get going on that, boys and girls. And let's get going with that. We will announce the winner in 2 weeks. We'll give it 2 weeks. So that's plenty of time for everyone to enter this lovely giveaway. So go ahead and subscribe, repost it, and then comment a photo of you being subscribed to us on YouTube. So, boys, we got a lot to cover today. As you can see down at the bottom, we are going to be doing the Red Wings roster plus season projections today. We've kind of already done this, but now that we're at the end of preseason, the Red Wings have played all their preseason games. Yeah, we're going to try and do our last bit of trying to get it right and see if we can be upper management or head coaches someday to create our own team. So NHL 25 just came out. I tried doing it on my own, but I need the help from y'all, I think. So let's go ahead and jump into things. We're going to go ahead and start with the roundtable of the Red Wings preseason games. We're going to cover the rest that we didn't last episode. We will then go into Red Wings news and then around the league news. So in all, the Red Wings did go 3-5 in their preseason action. Does that scare you guys at all?
I mean, honestly, not really. It's preseason. Ignore my camera. It's another earthquake happening over here. But it's preseason. All of our top guys, they are all solidified. They're not trying their hardest out there. We have our young guns that are probably as in, one person will probably get into a lot here. Marco Casper blowing out the doors out there. But preseason, no one's trying their best. It's just getting your legs warmed up. And I'm saying this with a heavy heart because, this week has been a rough week anyway. So I'm just going to go with that. It was preseason. And that's the only thing that we have to rely on right now because everyone's going to come back great in game form for game 1. So
what about you, Carlo?
I mean, I get it's preseason and you don't really have too many expectations, but I don't know. I feel like our top 6, like Tarasenko looked really, really good. But the top line, call it preseason, they look terrible. Whether they weren't trying because it's preseason, whatever, in my opinion, they looked terrible for whatever that's worth. But the good news is that the Grand Rapids players and the Grand Rapids Griffins this year are going to be unreal. I think they're going to be fantastic. Obviously, Marco Casper, Derek, you touched on that. Like he looks fantastic as well. And, I got to shout out my buddy Darren, who friend of the pod. We had a good conversation about Casper and him looking as good as he does and kind of pulling a Lucas Raymond. Like, remember when Raymond made the team out of camp? Like, there was no skill on the team. Now there is skill on the team, and Casper's still doing what he's doing. So, like, I'm not trying to compare Casper to Raymond, but just the pathway into the opening night lineup, I really think Casper is there for sure. But yeah, am I afraid? No, I just hope these guys know how to turn it on Thursday. But it would have been nice to see some more oomph from our top line.
Yeah. So the Red Wings, I'm just going to go down the list of the games that they played in preseason. So the Red Wings beat the Blackhawks 4-2. Red Wings then beat the Blackhawks 2-0. Game got postponed, but same game. Penguins beat the Red Wings 5-1. Sabres beat the Red Wings 4-3 in overtime. Red Wings beat the Penguins 2-1. Red Wings lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-0. Then lost to the Senators 4-3. And then lost last night to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2. And so let's just actually go in talking about overall the preseason, right? So you guys talked about Marco Casper. You guys, Carlo brought up the whole entire top line. So let's just kind of create a roundtable real quick and talk about preseason as a whole. And yes, I think it's very obvious that Marco Casper more than likely deserves a spot on this opening night roster. Right. So what what do the Red Wings have to do in order to make him fit? And I will also say, I agree with you, Carlo. I feel like the top line did not show up the way that they probably should have. Probably expecting a little bit more, especially out of someone like Alex DeBrincat, who we saw not put pucks in the net like we probably would have liked to have seen. We really didn't get to see that this preseason. Were they kind of not trying? I would say so. I think Mickey Redmond even said it at one point. It might have been 2 games ago. I can't remember which game it was. We were actually texting, Carlo, and you asked me that question. And then immediately, like 5 minutes after, that's exactly what Mickey Redmond said. Like, are they really trying that hard out there? More than likely, probably not, right? But still, you have to put on a performance. And it kind of gave me flashbacks to the regular season where the Red Wings fumbled a little bit in the first half or the first 2 periods. Then they had to play catch up in the third. I believe that was against the Ottawa Senators, or there were a couple of games, honestly, it felt like that, right? But this isn't no dig, right? This is just preseason, and that is okay. I don't know if maybe they're doing a systems check, if they're trying to get everyone comfortable with the schemes, the play, all that other stuff. But yeah, I guess I would agree with you, Carlo. And then another thing I'm going to agree with you on is, yeah, the Grand Rapids Griffins players, or even players that went to Toronto or back to their junior teams, like Emmett Finney, who got the captaincy for his team, the Kamloops, which is super awesome. I'm already putting that out there. Yeah, all around, there was a lot of greatness that came out of those young players coming in, and they stuck around longer than I think in previous years that we've seen, right? A lot of players that got a lot of good quality looks. People like Shai Buium, William Wallander, Carter Mazer, Marco Kasper, Nate Danielson, Michael Branzig-Nygaard, even Albert Johansson. He didn't look like that he did the best, but he still got a lot of decent looks. And for us to see how he can be deployed with this Detroit Red Wings team, because he will be with this team more than likely than not. But overall, this preseason, though, let's go ahead and jump on Marco Kasper. He deserves a spot on this team. But does that actually mean, just because he deserves it, does that mean that he's going to get it? Derek, in your opinion, does he deserve it? And does that equal that he will get it?
Well, more likely than anybody on the bottom pairing besides maybe Fisher at this point. He has been the one showing that he has the most effort, the most compete out there, the most complete game. It looks like basically out of most of the players that we've seen on the ice this preseason. Whether that it is because it's preseason, which I am really hoping that that's the case at this point with a lot of the players on the team. Like you guys alluded, ADB out there did not look hot at all. He almost looked lost half the time. I'm like, man, it's preseason. Only thing I kept beating into my head was it's preseason. Because this week was rough hockey to watch, except for the fact that there were young guys, like we said. They all look pretty well. Kasper knocking down the door. He's showing that he belongs, and he does deserve it. That's the thing. Is he going to get it right away? I don't really know. I feel like he did better than certain players on the roster that are lower than him that we, especially ones that we just most recently signed. As in,
do you want to call out those players real quick? Is there anyone specific? Go ahead.
Burgers for sure. Let's be honest. Burgers didn't really pop off to me at all this entire preseason. Barely did anything, barely got shots off. He had a little bit more of a defensive side to him, which obviously is what we were hoping that he would. But it looks like he kind of lost that forward edge a little bit when he was trying to compensate, which is not what we need at all either. So I feel like he would be Bergies is probably the first one that I would say is going to be the one that gets replaced by Kasper. And I don't think Kasper's going to play on any fourth line either. So I feel like it's going to be a bump up to the third right away. And who's going to get bumped down from the third line? I don't know. We're going to keep the fourth line the same? I don't know. But I feel like Burgers is the first one out the door before anyone else at this point.
Carlo, do you agree or disagree with what Derek said? And essentially the same question over to you as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. To me, Kasper outplayed Bergeron 100%. Bergeron he does look a little tougher on the walls. His wall game looks a little bit better for sure, but Casper was everywhere. He was all over the ice, making a very positive impact, whether it was in his own zone, whether it was in the offensive zone, obviously, which we've seen. He stands out so much more, and there's such a bright light beaming from him. And I think because of how bright the light is, it is casting a shadow over Berggren. Like, I don't want to dog on Berggren here. Like, I think he has improved, but not to the same level that Casper's at all. And for that reason, I'm 100% with Derek. I think, I could see a world where Casper and Berggren are on the same line, but I can also see a world where Casper is in the lineup and Berggren's not, for all the reasons that we just talked about. So yeah, I'm with you there, Derek. 100%. Great call.
Yeah, overall, I definitely agree with both of you. I also have the same case for even someone like Joe Veleno. I really don't think Joe Veleno did anything to pop out to me, and that's a center that you could replace for someone like Marco Casper. But we know that Joe Veleno is the 4C. Is Marco Casper at the 4C the worst? No, because more than likely they're going to put him on the PK. He played a lot of PK time during this preseason too. I'm sure he got some power play time too. And maybe that's something that they implement down the road if they did want Marco Casper to play full-time in the NHL this season, or maybe just a little bit of time if they want to introduce him before his 9-game stint comes to a close and they burn a year off his contract, right? So I think Marco Casper, and you can even make the case, maybe not for Tyler Mott, but for someone like Austin Watson, who's still on a PTO and they haven't sent him back to wherever he would go, right? Or cut him, so to say. Just even looking at it from a Jonathan Berggren, because I do believe Tyler Mott's going to make this team. I think he fits that PK mold. I think he brings a little bit of feistiness, I guess is the word that's coming to mind right now. It's Sunday scaries for me, boys and girls, today, as the normal. But some grit, I think he brings some dad vibes too. And he's been around the block, right? He's a very firm, sturdy player, in my opinion. So I think he can bring good assets to the team. And if the team ever wanted to go the 11-7 forward or position route, right, when they go into games, that's probably the player that you end up sitting as Tyler Mott if you had to pick and choose. But who knows, depending on how the roster is going to look, which we will actually try to conduct ourselves using Puckpedia here in a little bit. But talking more about Marco Casper in that game against the Ottawa Senators, where he scored 2 goals. Let's see here. He was a +1, had 2 penalty minutes. I was really hoping he would get the Gordie Howe hat trick. That would have been really
sweet. He almost did, man.
Yeah, he did. And let's see here. He ended up playing only 13:41 on time of the ice for that game, but still had 4 shots. He did have 2 giveaways, but on the faceoffs, he was even 60%. I'm not sure exactly how many faceoffs he took, but that's really great to see even that percentage level on that, right? So during that game, he overall just looked the best player on the ice. There's a lot to like about this player. I think it was you and I, Derek, we talked about it on the last episode about his knee surgery and everything and how tough that is to come back from. Where we saw last season, he had a really slow start. We are seeing a full Marco Casper right in front of us that I think a lot of people, I saw someone post this on Twitter, a lot of people owe Marco Casper an apology for not taking him serious as a player that the Red Wings drafted. I think he's going to be a lot better than a lot of people seem to think. I think in the future, he could be a really good serviceable 2C for our team with the amount of speed. He looks very fast out there. His handles are really good. He knows how to control the puck. He's pretty hard to get off the puck as well. And he's not really a big player either. I think he's like 6 foot or 6'1". He's under 200 pounds, I believe. So he's not the biggest guy, but he just has the hockey IQ and the smarts to be able to not only score goals, but to open up lanes and service his teammates as well. But I think that as he progresses as a player, I can almost see him being a Dylan Larkin light, where if he just keeps on working on that speed, he's going to become a dangerous player for years to come in the NHL. But I do want to retract here talking about Marco Casper And let's go ahead and talk about two guys that really don't get too much attention, but I think that they should. And I think that they've done really well so far this preseason, especially Austin Watson. And then also talking about Tyler Mott. Carlo, I want to start with you because I think that you're probably the biggest advocate for these two guys. I think that these are really good players to have on this Detroit Red Wings team to play on the fourth line, whether if they're in or out of the roster, but with the team. What do you think about them overall?
So Mott and Watson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's just say Mott, number 14. The Red Wings just aren't the Red Wings with a number 14. Let's just be real. But no, Mott, I do like a lot. I really do like just the way he plays. Reminds me of a little bit of a quicker Glendening. And hopefully he could be like that for us moving forward. But I do like Mott. He's a gamer. And I love the way he digs in. And I just think he's a perfect bottom six player. Watson. So like we need a guy like Watson. I mean, we saw him get ejected, obviously, and he obviously plays with that Detroit Lions grit, which I love. And I think this team desperately needs. Like, we can't have Seider going after guys who go after Larkin or Raymond, though it's nice. And we know that Seider will do that. We can't have Larkin going after guys who are throwing hits on Raymond, though we know, again, he will do it. We need a guy like that to really kind of take the lead on these types of situations, because we all know what's coming this year, guys. It happens every single year. Teams are going to play the Detroit Red Wings hard, physically and with some tenacity. It never fails. It's time for us to have a guy, especially if we introduce some rookies onto the team. It's very much time for us to have a guy like Austin Watson who's going to go out there and call the bell. Bell rings, he's there. And I just loved what I saw from him. I think Newsy even put out some good words on after the game. Like he loved it. He's like, that was awesome. And it was, in every aspect of the word. It really, really was. So both those guys, I think, are going to be down the road. We'll probably be talking about this again in like February. They're very much going to be worth it, especially when we get to a point in February where things start to turn up a little bit. We're going to be talking about Mott and Watson a lot.
Derek, do you agree or disagree with what Carlos said? And also, same question to you, your overall thoughts and opinions on Tyler Mott and Austin Watson so far from what you've seen. Tyler Mott's obviously with the team, but Austin Watson's still with the PTO. Do you see a spot for someone like Austin Watson?
I disagree with Carlo just a little bit. I agree with Mott. Mott is a great depth player, great PK, great just all-around aggressiveness on the puck. I love his style of play. He is a great bottom forward right now. Bless you, Zach. I can see you dying off there in the corner. But all around, great player. I'm pretty sure he would be someone who's going to be serviceable through the entire year for us on the Red Wings. Austin Watson, I love his physicality. The fact that, like Carlos said, we don't really have anyone on the team that can bring that beat down to the other team when something happens. We really desperately need that a lot of time. We don't want to see Raymond, Larkin, Seider being those guys going out to beat down someone else, or even Edmondson at this point, just because they're bigger, they got the grit a little bit, and they got to protect their team. But we also need them to be out there scoring points and doing the production side. Mm-hmm. The only thing that scares me with Watson is where I see him is probably as the 13th forward on the team, most likely at best. Yeah. And what I get scared with that is that a potential roster spot being taken up for one of the potential guys coming up from Grand Rapids? And they're not getting that time now up here because we have Austin Watson, who's playing every, 4 or 5 games against a team that might be a little bit more tougher. And we just need someone out there to go beat them down a little bit. Or do we want someone who's coming up, being able to play 3-4 games, slotting in and out every other game, potentially getting those times, getting those minutes, showing us what they can do? I feel like one's a little more high priority than the other, but at the same time, the physicality is nice. So I'm like on that weird leveling edge right now between what I want, between the grit with the prospects coming up and showing us what they got up here. So that's the only way I'm a little different from where I think of Austin Watson. Great player. His PTO has been great. I can't really argue that at all at this point. But that's just the only thing that scares me a little bit right now.
Yeah, I guess I'm the tiebreaker here. I actually agree with both of you. I think maybe I side a little. This is really tough. So I guess I'll just explain my portion of it. So I understand it where, yes, Austin Watson more than likely would be the 13th forward. I don't think that actually does take away a roster spot from one of the younger guys because we aren't going to utilize a younger guy as the 13th forward. I think that kind of takes away, especially when we look at someone like Albert Johansson, who's technically the 7th defenseman. We already have a young guy up, and he's probably going to be labeled someone who only plays half the season, depending on injuries or not, based on the way that it's looking, or if he just outright beats someone, right? And that would have to be Oli Mata at that point, or if Ben Sherratt hits the crapper, right? So it's just a little tough, but I agree with Carlo. I do love the physicality that he brings. I will kind of disagree with you, Derek, that I think that, and we saw that thread to needle from Austin Watson to Tyler Mott. And if you have someone like Veleno or Marco Kasper as that 4C, I think that's someone that could, if you're replacing Kasper with Veleno right there as the 4C, I think Kasper would be the overall producer on that line. I think he's someone who can open up a lot for Tyler Mott and Austin Watson, but it comes down to that, right? Are you really about to offer this guy the 13th spot when you already have 8 defensemen, right? And you have 3 goaltenders and you already solidified 12 forwards, right? Pretty much down to a T. We already have the 12 signed. This is minus Marco Kasper. So are we really about to open up a spot for a guy who can essentially bring grit and minimal scoring production? Can he play on the PK too? What kind of service can he provide outside of the grit? And so that's one thing that I'm a little nervous about as well. So I do side with you on that, Derek, but I agree with Carlo in the aspect of I don't want to see Dylan Larkin or someone like Moritz Seider or even Lucas Raming having to defend his teammates when we can have this one guy, because look at what happened to David Perron when that situation happened with Dylan Larkin against the Ottawa Senators. David Perron ended up getting suspended for how many games? 7, 6? We don't need another.
And it costed us points. I think his absence costed us points because it's David Perron. But
yes, and that's where
like Watson.
That's where I say if you replaced Austin Watson with David Perron in that situation, you're okay with losing someone like Austin Watson for 6 or 7 games, because then you can bring up that other young player or whoever it is, right? Maybe you don't bring up a forward because you already have 8 defensemen, right? So it's a really tricky situation here. I would hate to be Steve Yzerman right now. We've said this throughout the whole entire offseason.
No kidding.
He's got a really tough job right now. It's very interesting, but we're going to try our best to play that out today for all you viewers, fans, watchers, and listeners, wherever you guys are viewing us today, whether that be on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And before we continue, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube as well. Hit the follow button on Spotify or Apple. That all is free to do. We really do appreciate it. And also, we are doing this Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead giveaway on Twitter with some hockey cards. They're on top here. It's really difficult to show them on my camera, but let's go ahead and continue moving along. And I want to shift the focus a little bit. I think we spent a lot of time on the forwards. Let's kind of talk about the defense. Carlo, I think maybe you're probably the best one to start off with this, because you've been pretty critical, and that's okay. I think that's great, and that's why I want you to start. But you've been pretty critical about how this team still can't get the puck out of their own zone. They look pretty diminished when they are even on the PK. The PK sometimes looks good, but even with Pittsburgh Penguins, the Pittsburgh Penguins exposed them a little bit. What's your overall take on the defense? And I do want to throw in another question. Do you like seeing Simon Edvinsson on the top pair more with Seider, or does it make more sense having them split apart, Ben Sherratt on the top line, and then Simon Edvinsson paired on the second line with Petrie?
Well, I think to answer the last part first, I think Simon, I don't mind Simon and Moritz on the top line for certain matchups for sure. Like if Detroit's going against Edmonton, let's put Simon and Mo out there. Even Toronto, when you got those high octane offenses, I'd probably consider that. But then again, it's also probably more beneficial to have them split apart so that you can cover a little more ground. I'm 50-50 on that. I think we're going to see them playing together. I don't think it's going to be full time. And I honestly don't think the season's going to start that way. I think it's something that they might eventually go into later on. But I did like the way they played. They seem to have played really well together, and it was nice to see it. But I don't think it's something we're going to see until, the likes of Johansson getting a little more acclimated to the NHL. When ASP comes up, that's when I think we're really going to see those two dominating the top line, especially when our defense starts to fill out a little bit. But until then, I think it's going to be split up a little bit, just again to cover some more ground. In terms of clearing the zone, I mean, like everybody likes to say, thank God it's preseason. I just hope in 4 days they figure it out, because it was pretty ugly. They seem to be in that same type of, I guess, situation where they just don't know how to clear the zone. It was pretty rough. The thing that bothered me the most was that they couldn't clear the zone against ECHL teams. That was worrisome to me. But again, it's preseason, right? So nothing to really fret about. We'll see. I think we'll see a good test, obviously, on Thursday when they play the Penguins, who have a pretty high octane offense as well. Especially that top line. They're deep too. But anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it is preseason. I don't want to take any flack. But again, it is worrisome. Hopefully they figure it out in the next 4 days, and we'll see what happens from there, guys. I mean, what do you guys think? Were you guys worried about them and the lack of being able to clear the zone, or are you guys just like, nah, it's a non-issue until it's regular season?
Yeah, Derek, you take it. Same questions over to you that I just asked Carlo.
I'll flip it around and start off with, I'm just kind of scared with RD. I was scared last year, and I'm still scared coming into this season because not much has changed beside Evanson getting put up into the lineup, which does make me happy a little bit. It's nice to see that we have a little bit of change of pace, but I feel like before those two, Mo and Simon, get put together, we need to have some sort of addition come into the lineup in the bottom four. Because Jesus Christ, those four at the bottom terrify me if they're by themselves against any kind of good lineup. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to test the theory. Gustafsson, I don't know exactly what he's going to bring to the table just yet, but we're basically setting up as a third pairing D, so I'm not going to expect too much. Hopefully the D game's strong just to be able to support down there, but like Carlos said, they can't get the puck out of the zone. They're just messing around down there too long. Obviously, we don't know what the real core of the D is going to look like until Thursday when we watch them opening night. But I don't think Mo and Ed are going to be together, I mean, at least till halfway through the season once they figure out all this stuff. And maybe, like Carlos said, once they have some high-octane offense coming at them, they're going to need that kind of supporting role on the first line to be able to shut them down. But goodness, I'm going to be still terrified what happens when those other two lines go out by themselves against teams like that, especially if they get accidentally switched up against McDavid or Matthews. Like we saw Matthews shot alone in his puck control in that game yesterday. Holy crap. And I'm pretty sure he was trying maybe at like 70%. Jesus, like that's going to be terrifying to go against with, say, Jeff Petrie and Ben Sherratt. For some reason, that just doesn't make me feel too comfortable.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have a preference. I did on our last episode, the Hot Takes episode, that I said we will see Simon Edvinsson and Murray Sider play together majority of the time this season. I actually firmly believe that, but I completely understand and actually agree with you guys. It is very scary letting our bottom four stick together. I don't think Gustafsson has been as good as we probably thought that he was going to be. Every time we see him on the power play, on the PP1, he is taking rippers, but he's not taking the greatest. I don't think his defense has really been that great. He gets under opponents' skins. He does lay out some pretty great hits, but I don't know if that's because he's with Mata. I don't know if that's a system, if he's still trying to get used to it. But once again, it is preseason, so I don't want to get too wacky about all these takes, but there's still a lot to be seen from someone like Gustafsson. Looking at someone like Ben Sherratt, he seems the exact same to me. I don't think there's really been any improvement there. He's just as advertised as he was when we first signed him. Someone like Moritz Seider, he's still doing the exact same thing, right? He's laying out hits, he's laying out the counter hits. He's making a lot of players out there look silly. So he's continuing the trend. We want to see more clap bombs out of him. Carlo, you kind of brought that out, right? We want to see him shoot a little bit more, and maybe there is an opportunity there for him this year because of the lack of offensive production from the defense, right? We lost Jake Wallman and we lost Shane Ghostbear. So can someone like Moritz Seider start producing a little bit more, much like how he did his rookie year with the Detroit Red Wings, winning the Calder Trophy for the best rookie in the league that season? So yeah, then you look at someone like Simon Edvinsson. He has been better than I expected, and that's not to say that I was downplaying him, but he just knows how to play the game the right way, and I'm very excited to see how he does in a full 82 game season with the Detroit Red Wings. It's going to be his first NHL season. Who was it that he got in a little tizzy with? He didn't even get a penalty for that, but he just held that man with one arm, threw him down to the ground. That's the type of stuff that we love to see and that we need to see more out of him. So if he can continue doing that, the Red Wings are doing it right by going after size in their defensemen. So that is awesome. I know Derek, or maybe it was you, Carlo. I can't remember whoever brought up ASP. I don't think next year we would see Simon Edvinsson and Moritz Seider paired. I think ASP would probably be best to be paired with someone like Simon Edvinsson because ASP is smaller. But I love the overall play of Simon Edvinsson so far. I think he is someone who can lightly produce. He actually looks faster than what I remember him being. He seems more calm, cool, collect out there with the decision making. He is really hard to get off the puck. He's really good at protecting the puck. Moving along to someone like Jeff Petrie, I think Jeff Petrie actually improved. I think he looks a lot faster. I think he's making a lot better decisions out there. That's pretty much all I got to say about Jeff Petrie, though. He's another year older. So how long can that sustain for someone like him in his age bracket, right? And then you look at Olli Mata and you look at Eric Gustafsson. We already talked about him. Olli Mata, pretty much the same. Just a normal stay-at-home defensive guy. Albert Johansson really hasn't jumped out. Overall, there's 8 defensemen here. So I agree with you guys overall. I'm kind of scared. I think that we're seeing the same issues that we did last season. Hopefully the Red Wings can get it corrected as they move along in the regular season. And we're just going to have to wait and see. And the fact that we have this issue where we have 8 defensemen really bugs me. And I'm sure it bugs a lot of people too, because that still takes away a roster spot technically from a young player, whether if that's on offense or defense, right? Because then you could have that 13th forward. I don't even think, no, we can't even have a 13th forward right now with the 12, 8, and 3, right?
I think there's going to be some moves coming here. And I think we're going to eventually, obviously, all of us get into having that crack. But I do think there's some moves coming for sure. Because it's just in the best interest of the team at this point for some moves to be made for certain guys to plug in for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Derek probably agrees too. Just based on the way that preseason has worked out, boys and girls, there's got to be a move or two upcoming, whether if it's not now, but in sometime in the future. I could definitely see something in the next coming months, even if someone like Marco Kasper didn't make the opening night roster, and if he just balls out in Grand Rapids, they will make something happen to where, okay, this kid's got to come up, because if the Red Wings aren't producing, but he's overly producing in GR, they're going to take that shot at moving him up. Let's go ahead and talk about the goalies. Each goalie, to me, or I guess I should say it this way, they all technically played 3 games, right? Husso, Lyon, Talbot. If my numbers are numbering right, if I did it all correctly, I do want to ask you guys first before I lay out the stats, but who do you guys, in your personal opinions, quick vibe check, who is the best goaltender out of the preseason?
I mean, Carlos stated it earlier with that, what was it? What game was that where he only let 1 goal in, had like 40 saves or something? It was Husso for sure, I would have to say, with that, 42 saves?
Yeah.
I mean, alone with that, his numbers have to be skyrocketed, but he did look the best out there from what I could tell. Lyon a little bit flying around, so was Talbot a little bit, so I wasn't too impressed with them. Huso, kind of what I was hoping we would get from him. Being healthy and whatnot, not too bad. Lightly saying not too bad, I guess.
Okay. Carlo?
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not convinced that either one of these goalies are a starting goaltender right now. But if I were to throw one in to start on Thursday, let's say, I'd throw in Ville Husso.
Yeah, I actually agree with both of you. I think Husso is by far the clear starter just based on stats alone. I mean, Husso, throughout his game stints that he played, he put up a .936 save percentage. Obviously, that one game against the Pittsburgh Penguins where he only allowed 1 goal on 44 shots. That's wicked awesome. That's great to see. A great rebound performance from someone who really didn't get to play all that much last season due to injuries and who looked really bad when he did play, right? You look at someone like Cam Talbot, the newly Detroit Red Wing player, he put up a .911 save percentage, and then Alex Lyon put up a .902 save percentage. To me, it's clearly Husso just based on numbers alone. Based on the eye test, I would probably say Husso as well. And this kind of goes against everything that we've said. I mean, we probably wanted Husso to be the starter, but I think majority of us had the understanding that it would probably be Lyon or Talbot. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was someone who was saying Talbot's going to be the opening night starter and then probably solidifying being the 1A because it is 1A, 1B, 1C with these three, right? But based on this, I'm going based on the numbers. That's how I'm ranking my goalies right now. It's Husso, then it's Talbot, then it's Alex Lyon.
Yep.
And with this earlier, you guys brought up a move's going to be made. If a move's going to be made, and you look at these contracts that these goaltenders have, Alex Lyon most likely is the one to be moved. I don't see him being waived. You're not going to lose him for nothing. Someone would claim him. Easy. He's got a very good team-friendly contract. He can be a backup on a really good team, and a really good team could use him as a backup. Maybe there's a team out there that would use him as a 1A, 1B situation too. You know, it just really all depends. But I think that Lyon would be the one goaltender on this team that would end up getting moved. And then you're looking at it on the roster end of forwards and defense. To me, the three players that I'm selecting here are Lyon, Veleno, and Berggren. I think those three players are key movers in a trade deal to create roster room for a player like Marco Kasper or even Carter Mazer. Not so much Nate Danielson. But do you guys agree with me on that?
Oh, I'm full of boredom with that one, especially with the goalie rankings going down. Like, Lyon obviously has probably the most in a trade potential at this point. And we already know that the team doesn't want to carry 3 goalies again like last year. So it comes down to, like, can Husso stay healthy and play like this the entire season? Because then, boom, we got our 1A Talbot coming in as pretty much advertised, 9-11. Well, he averages like a 9-13 every year pretty much so far through his NHL career. So basically the same thing right there. That's not a bad 1B at all. And then we got Lyon down there doing a little less than everybody else, flying around the net a little bit, but he still has the pedigree from last year of what he can do, a great like backup goalie for like 30 games. You're going to get probably a 920 out of him at that point. So, and people know that. So I feel like he's probably one of the key factors to get moved at this point. Well, won't get, like you said, we won't get nothing for him. He is a good goalie and people want him. So that's going to be a coveted thing. And then we got a few more clear trading blocks that we can send out to and have factor that clear up roster spots. So are we going to carry 3 goalies this year? I really hope not. I feel like something has to make them, some sort of move has to happen, like Carlos said. And I feel like it's going to be on that goalie side right now because we have 3 clear goalies that can be 1A, 1B, and we have to get rid of one of them at this point just to clear up some space. Carl, what do you think on the situation?
Well, I think what's going to happen, and I was just messing around doing some things. I sent something we could chat about, but I think Alex Lyon is going to be sent down into the GR system to work with Kosa. obviously for two reasons. So I'll elaborate a little bit if that's okay on what my take is on that. But for reason number one, and first and foremost, obviously we want to give some good love and some good vibes out to Jack Campbell, to Soup.
Yeah.
He's obviously gone into the player assistance program, and we hope that he's doing okay and that he's getting the support he needs to get better. So we're thinking about you, Soup, and we hope you're doing okay and you're on the mend. So with that happening, I do think that there's a bit of a position void that needs to be filled in GR. So again, I think Lyon goes down to GR to work with Kosa. And honestly, I think there's no better guy, because look what Lyon did for the Detroit Red Wings last year. He kind of put the team on his back, played very well when he needed to play very well. And I think he can probably give some of that juice and some of that experience to Kosa in GR. Now, I do think that that's fluid, right? I think there's going to be times where Lyon's going to get called up and because something might happen. Ville Husso's not 100%, blah, 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 whatever. I think we're still going to see Lyon playing in the winged wheel at some point. But I think to start the season, to make what I would like to see work, I think you're going to see Lyon drop down, and that just leaves us with Ville Husso and Cam Talbot. I think those are our best options right now. For obvious reasons, we talked about Ville Husso. The only thing that kind of worries me with Ville Husso is, does he only perform when he's facing a high amount of shots? And that's another shout out to my good buddy Darren, friend of the pod. That's the same worry that he has. He's like, dude, if Ville Husso faces 17 to 23 shots, what's his save percentage? Because he's like, he doesn't know. It was very difficult to find that, but we don't think it's that high. However, when he's facing 35 to 45 shots a game, guy's unreal. So I don't know if anybody can pull up that stat, but I'd like to know, when Ville Husso faces, let's call it 32 shots or more, what's his save percentage? And when Ville Husso faces less than 25 shots a game, what's his save percentage? That's what worries me with Ville Husso. Boom or bust. But he does look solid. And I think he's the youngest goaltender. He's making the most amount of money. Not to put a dollar on it. I hate when people are like, oh, you can't put this person on the fourth line. They're making too much money. Forget about that. We got to win a game. We got to win a game. I think Ville Husso's got to be that guy, and I'd like to start him just to give him a good mental boost. What better to do for a guy like that, right? Especially with what he's gone through last year.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that Alex Lyon would be fantastic for someone like Kosa and GRG. I do think that actually takes away from Kosa, though. I think that the overall idea that we've all consensusly, I said that really weird in the way I heard it. But anyways, yeah, I think that takes away from Kosa, because our understanding was unanimously that we were going to have Kosa play majority of the games, right? So is it back to a 1A, 1B situation, or is it? And I also kind of want to ask you, Carlo, do you really think that if we waived Lyon, he would not be claimed?
Yeah, that's the thing. He probably would be, because he's got a very, very salivating cap situation at $900,000. So I think it's also an instant claim. But then it comes to the questions like, okay, are you waiving Husso? And then back to your same question, what does that mean for Kosa? Now, whoever it is that gets waived, if somebody gets waived, do I still think Kosa is going to get majority of the games? Yeah, I do. I really do. Until he loses the net. I think it's going to be great for Kosa to have an NHL goaltender, whoever it is, come down to back him up, to create that competitive atmosphere and really turn it on for Sebastian Kosa. Kosa, the net's yours, buddy. It's yours. But there's a next man up. Don't lose the net. That's going to create some crazy competitive juice within Kosa's spirit and Kosa's, brain and body, where he's probably going to have a phenomenal year. And if he doesn't, hey, you need a break. Okay, cool. We got another guy that can come in. Not a big deal. You're a human being. But I think the net is in GR is Kosa's to lose. Now, you bring up a good point with the whole waiver situation, right? Yeah, I think Lyon probably would get claimed, don't you? He's $900,000 and he's Alex Lyon. But then at that point, who's being waived? It's a Ville Husso because his contract's insane? It's not insane, but it's high.
No, because I think Husso is going to be the starter, to be honest. So no, and I don't think you go out and do that with Cam Talbot either.
So then you gotta be okay, and I hope Red Wings fans are prepared that there's a very real possibility that Alex Lyon's not on within this organization if that's the play that they make.
You can look at this one way or the other. I think that this is a great problem to have. And Steve Yzerman always said he wanted to kind of be in those situations where it's one of those issues, not saying that all these goaltenders are outstanding players, but they're all very good players. I think that they're all pretty much in the same category tier of what they can provide. Maybe Talbot's on the lower end between Husso and Lyon, but yeah, I think Husso probably trumps all three of these players, and that kind of sucks to say because Alex Lyon played phenomenal for us when we absolutely needed him last year to keep our dreams alive.
The tearjerker.
Goes back to saying it's a good problem to have, and once again, I would hate to be Steve Yzerman. Derek, do you have any final thoughts about this before we move along here?
I'm just going to hope that if anything does happen with Lyon, it's through a trade and we just don't lose him through waivers at that point. That way, at least we get maybe something back. Maybe, a very, very serviceable defenseman. I don't know. But at the same time, that just creates another logjam that is all Stevie's headache, not mine. So, Zach, you're right. It's a good problem to have. We hopefully will just keep their numbers and this problem doesn't progress in the future, and we just get to be able to ride out the season with two decently good goalies.
I will say, I do think that it is a plus that the Red Wings have a bit of time until their season opener. Like Carlo said earlier, they'll play the Pittsburgh Penguins on the 10th. We're currently recording on October 6th. That is 12:09 p.m. So NHL regular season technically is underway. They're playing in the global series right now for some teams like New Jersey and Buffalo. So those have already happened, but this gives a lot of time for other general managers. Maybe they are looking for an upgrade on their backup goaltending. And Alex Lyon is someone that other general managers are like, hey, Steve, like we know they have three goaltenders. We just would, really like to have someone like Alex Lyon to help secure us wins on the back end. That honestly really does help out Steve Yzerman on negotiation side if other teams are coming to him versus him going out to other teams like, hey, I really don't want to put this guy through waivers and lose him for nothing, but will you guys just take him? Right. So negotiation haggle side. Right. So let's just see how it all plays out. But yeah, I believe that this is a good position to be in. So
it's actually kind of wild.
This is Puckpedia. We are currently using this right now to showcase what the opening night roster is so far slated to look like just based on the Red Wings that they have signed, the players that they have signed. So top line, obviously, is DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond. Second line, Tarasenko, Comfort, Kane. Third line, Rasmussen, Kopp, Christian Fischer. I think those top three lines are locked. Obviously, we're going to make the case for otherwise, but then you scroll down to the fourth line, you have Mott, Veleno, and Berggren. I think this definitely can reshape. Even just the bottom six can be reshaped. And you look at the defense and the goaltending, you got Sherratt, Seider, Edvinsson, Petrie, Mata, Gustafsson, Johansson, Hall. Goaltending, Cam Talbot, Alex Lyon, and Ville Husso. So we're going to mess around with this. We pretty much already said Ville Husso is going to be the number one goaltender, right? And then Cam Talbot is going to be the second. We're pretty secure on this. Obviously, we could make the case for someone like Albert Johansson, but in this situation, I think he hasn't done anything that warrants him to be above Olli Mata or even someone above Ben Sherratt, which is kind of disappointing based on the, what's the word I want to use here, hype that we've heard from someone like Steve Yzerman and other fans on how well he can be. And time will tell, right? We're going to be able to see that in the near future. So let's go ahead and just move up to the forwards. So yeah, boys, I mean, with this, I personally feel like that the third line is a lock. From there up, it's a lock. So from here, how do we change this? Because the Red Wings only have just under $200,000 in cap space. I mean, you obviously could take out someone like Jonathan Berggren and Joseph Veleno to make room, but what are you guys thinking here to insert someone like a Marco Kasper? Because we all seem to agree that he deserves a spot on this roster. So how can we improve this roster from what it currently is now? That seems like is going to be the overall roster lineup for opening night.
I'll say, Carly, go ahead and jump on that since you were way ahead of all of us and already sent us a photo of what you thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
So right away, Casper jumps up as 4C to play with Tyler Mott and Jonathan Berggren. Now, I will say, like, I honestly think this line with Casper on it is already way better. I like Casper a lot better in the 4C position than Joe Veleno. Skill-wise, I think he can replicate what Joe Veleno does in terms of his 200-foot game back and forth. He's shown that this preseason. Listen, there's a lot more that needs to be shown. It's an 82-game season. Let's hope Casper's capable of producing what he did in the 8 games that he showed. Well, not 8 games, but the couple games that he played in the preseason. But anyways, that's what I have there. Tyler Mott, Marco Casper, Jonathan Berggren making up our fourth line. And to be honest with you, I think that's a solid fourth line. I think Casper and Mott can make up for Jonathan Berggren's defensive lapses. Hopefully he doesn't have too many of them, but call a spade a spade. I think he's going to. Has he improved? Yes, we talked about that, but I think this is just a really well-balanced lineup. So that's what I think the fourth line is going to look like. Now you're going to notice that we have a bit of an issue on the top right in terms of cap space. So what I've done on the charting that I was doing here is that I did, now this is granted that these go through, nothing's a guarantee, but I actually dropped, obviously because Aljo is going to be our 7th D. So Hall drops down into GR.
What, you're not worried that someone's going to pick him off waivers?
Not at all.
Oh, weird. Okay, I guess he's going to GR.
So he goes down into GR, right on that LD3 or wherever you want to put him. So that obviously gives us a little bit of cap space. And then what I did was I also dropped Alex Lyon for points that I made earlier down to be right behind Kosa as Jack Campbell, gets the help he needs in the PA program. So now what you're going to notice is that we have 1.361 in cap space. And if you keep scrolling up, Zach, a little bit more, we have an NHL roster size of 22. Now we can go sign Austin Watson for whatever, $800,000, $875,000, whatever the league minimum is. And Joseph Veleno and Austin Watson will be our 13th and 14th forwards. We'll have 7D and we'll have 2 goaltenders. We have now a 23-man roster with Marco Casper. And then we got Joey V and Austin Watson that can come in matchup based. And we still have $500,000 in cap space. Steve would be proud. I know it.
Oh, is it weird to say that this is probably the most likely scenario that could actually happen to get Marco Casper up here? I'm trying to think of a way around it. I'm like, I really don't know what we could do at that point, especially in the cap space scenario, because obviously Hall would have to get dropped. That's just the most money possible, especially with Joe Veleno's 2.2 he got during arbitration. So,
see, even if you, and this is where it gets super confusing, right? Because then even if you put, no, never mind. Okay, it goes against everything I was thinking. Yeah, you still have the cap space for it, but I can see them if you want your third and fourth lines to be shut down but have some type of production. I don't know. I think that they might want to go Joe Veleno over Jonathan Berggren.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a possibility. I'm just making a 23-man roster that consists of Berggren and Casper. How it gets slotted in, guys, to be honest with you, I think it's going to be matchup based. Like, I don't think any one of us are going to be able to lock this down because I think it's going to be so fluid. And I think Derek Lalonde's even said that the forward group is going to be extremely fluid. That's just the 23-man roster that I've been able to come up with that works contractually, respects the 23-man squad, and gives you so much dynamic because now you're having the discussion on, all right, are we playing Burgers tonight or are we playing Veleno tonight? All right, is Austin Watson coming in because we're playing the Bruins or we're playing the Panthers and we need a checker. This is again a very good problem to have. I'm just glad that it works contractually. The only prefaces here, or the asterisks, or the key things to call out, is this is all granted that Alex Lyon clears waivers. I mean, even if he doesn't contractually, this is all going to work out, and it's going to be a sad day if he's gone. Obviously, we know Justin Hall's definitely going to clear waivers, but this is my personal 23-man roster based on what we got now, and I'm honestly okay with it. I like it.
Yeah, and looking back even at like the game log of when Berggren would play, I mean, we would see Veleno getting in manning the 1C for essentially the Grand Rapids Griffins team when they put them out for preseason action, right? And you looked at Jonathan Berggren when they put him with the NHL regulars. Jonathan Berggren was getting very sheltered minutes. He wasn't out there getting 15, 14, or even 16 minutes on ice. He was well under those times of playing time, or regardless too. I mean, he was getting power play time. I don't think they're going to put him on the PK. So to me, he just seems like another Daniel Sprong, Jonathan Berggren. And at that point, I think you're better off. That's a player that you move on from, or you just keep him obviously for the depth purpose. But we talked about that. That takes away a spot from someone like Carter Mazer. Mm-hmm. So would you rather have Carter Mazer or Jonathan Berggren? And I think we're doing a disservice here to Jonathan Berggren. And I think that a move could be made sometime in the near future. I'm going to touch on it again, that there's a team out there that could give him middle six. It's not us, unfortunately. We've done him a disservice at that. I don't think we gave him the time and space that he actually needed to flourish into that type of player, to be a 40-point guy or even a 50-point guy. But I think he can be. But you have to do him a favor by giving him up to a different team. Maybe send him to the Ducks. It really doesn't matter. Whoever can provide him that middle six time that he needs to showcase his skill set as a player, you got to do it here eventually, because I think that it's going to look like this when the roster actually comes out. A lot of decisions have to be made. But yeah, Derek, does this seem like you're in agreement with this? Let's hear from you overall.
I mean, the Austin Watson thing was a no-brainer. I've already stated that he probably played one of every 6 games. And like Carlos said, we need someone to come up and beat the crap out of the other team and slot him in for a game. There you go. And with Kasper, Veleno, Berggren, easy mix-up between all of them right now. Obviously, I want to see what Burgers can do out there, because we got to showcase his skills somehow, especially even if we are going to lose him and have to send him off somewhere, just to be able to actually make him be able to produce in the NHL, and then we free up a roster spot. I mean, you don't want to send him off for nothing. We got to be able to showcase what he can do out there. But at the same time, is he going to do that with slotting in every other game, every 2 games, depending on the scenario? I doubt it. But at the same time, this is probably the most likely scenario that's going to happen. We just sheltered him too long, so we really don't know what he can do for us. And at this point, we can't put him in the top 6, top 9 even, because obviously those are pretty well tightened up. So, I agree with the roster itself. I like the way it looks. I would like to see that opening night, honestly. That'd be really fun to see. Just the only sad part about this would be is possibly losing a Berggren and most likely losing an Alex Lyon very quickly. The spark of that locker room right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going back to say this. These are great problems to have, and it's very unfortunate. This is why people always say, try not to fall in love with a player unless they're Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, or Moritz Seider, because your feelings are going to get hurt. And we're seeing it here today. We love both of these players. It's just unfortunate that there are players that play very similar or better than them currently right now. And it's unfortunate, but you got to do them the service and put them in a position where they can actually have good, decent NHL careers, whether if that's this season or future seasons moving down the line. And I wanted to touch on Austin Watson again, only because thinking about it in my head, there's a lot of teams, not only in our division, but in the Metro as well, and other teams across the league that have players very similar to Austin Watson, where this is a player where we could plug in against. Think about the New York Rangers, right? Matt Rempe. Think about the Ottawa Senators. Think about you know, even like the Florida Panthers, the Kachuk brothers, right? You know,
Yep.
you look at some of these teams that play such a gritty style of hockey and get under the skin that we need a player that can match that persona. So we don't have players like Larkin, Raymond, Sider, even someone like Alex DeBrincat. He loves to get in the scrum, and I don't want him to continue doing that because he is a small guy. He's basically the same size as I am. I'm 5'8", around 5'9", boys and girls. So he's very small. He's a bowl of oatmeal. He's pretty thick, but like that's probably one of the last people I really want to see get in there because he gets slammed down to the ice pretty easily. So Austin Watson, there definitely is room on here, but I think upper management has to see that and recognize that one of the reasons why we need this player is because of other teams also having similar players like Austin Watson, and we need to meet that type of energy, and that gets the boys going. And I think both Derek and Carlo can agree with me on that you guys probably played on hockey teams that had players that were like them that fired you guys up. Fires me up just watching it on the screen. So can you guys at least agree with that?
Oh, I love watching someone get pummeled down. And the best part would be if Austin Watson gets an ejection from the game. Oh, no! We lost Austin Watson for
exactly.
2 games. Darn, he wasn't going to play those 2 games anyways. So we got a hyped-up team. All our players are still there. We're good to go. Oh, well.
For me, you kind of nailed it, man. Like I think we need a guy like Austin Watson. Look at the division we're in. Look at the conference we're in. There are some big boys. There are some big boys on these teams, and we need a guy who can answer the call. You know, it's time for us to have a guy who can throw his weight around. And to the point made earlier, we're not expecting this guy to come in here and produce David Perron numbers, but we don't want a guy like David Perron getting suspended for 6 or 7 games. That costed us. I think there was a point or two within his absence that could have gotten us into the postseason last year. That didn't happen as a result of everything that went down. So like Derek said, Austin Watson gets suspended for a few games. Holy smokes. We did not lose any goals. We didn't lose any goals.
Yeah.
So I'm for it. I'm for it all day. And that's kind of the reason why I made the moves I made when I was doing this on Puckpedia. Is to definitely find a spot for him to be that matchup guy to come in when we're playing the likes of Florida, New York, Boston even too. Tampa. Like, you know, you got to have a bruiser, man. You got to have a bruiser. Just ask Dan Campbell. You need a bruiser.
All right, boys and girls, let's go ahead and jump into the Red Wings news and then around the league news, and we will go ahead and jump into our final thoughts for today's episode. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. We really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, follow, rate us 5 stars. All free. So talking about it, Patrick Kane needs 16 more points to become the second U.S.-born player in NHL history to record 1,300 points. He would join Mike Modano with 1,374 points. So, yeah, I think he can get that really quickly, probably within those 16 games, or within 16 games, he can get the 16 points. I think he could be a point per game player at the start. He's just got to pick it up a little bit more. We mentioned Emma Finney has been named the 38th captain in Kamloops Blazers history, so congratulations to him.
Like that.
Claps all around.
McKean's Hockey Pool Yearbook, Detroit Red Wings top 15 prospects, coming in at number 3 as we continue to count down the top prospect pool in the NHL. And you can check the photos on there. So McKean posted that. So we're kind of all over the place. I've seen some people saying that we're more in the middle tier now, which, you know, I'm not going to sit here and argue with anyone. It's really hard to figure that out as we continue on. We still have a lot of young players, but I think if Grand Rapids Griffins has a really good season, then we can see that for surely being a good reason to put him at number 3, like McKean put on there. Carlo already said that Campbell has been assigned to the assistance players program, so hopefully all is well with him for a speedy recovery, whatever he's going through, the assistance. Wish him the best of luck with that. Detroit Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin on Spin Chicklets Tuesday. We're not going to go in depth. There were some really great questions. There were some out of the pocket questions for sure from someone like Biz Nasty. But if you guys haven't checked that out, it was a really cool interview. We will say Henrik Zetterberg did give him advice not to go on there at one point, and maybe Henrik Zetterberg's a little mad at him. Not sure. Maybe Steve Eisenman. But overall, I thought it was a great interview. Dylan Larkin was very professional. Knows how to have fun still with it, though. So it was great overall. Go ahead and check that out. I really do recommend that. That's it for Red Wings. Yep.
Larkin looked so uncomfortable every time he said that. It was hilarious.
Around the league news, Clayton Keller becomes the first ever captain of Utah Hockey Club, which is super awesome. I couldn't think of anyone else that they could give that to, honestly. So congratulations to Clayton Keller on that. This season, every NHL team will wear a decal on their helmet to honor Johnny Gaudreau and Matt Gaudreau. So that's awesome to see. I think that is really good on the league that's professional on their level for honoring two players like that. So that's awesome to see. Batman says there's a very, very early ballpark salary cap figure for next season is $92.5 million. I would not be shocked if that actually goes up. I think that is on the low end because the cap currently is $88 million, I believe. I could be wrong. Just thinking about it off the top of my head. So that would be
maybe.
So that technically, let's just call it a $4.5 million increase, right? So I think that can go up. I think based on the way that everything is looking, money's coming in. Utah isn't in Arizona anymore. They're not losing money. I think they're actually going to gain a lot of money. So not too many teams that have to get the escrow help that they've always needed, right? So the league just continues.
Let's not forget about the new TV series coming out on Amazon. Like, let's be honest. That is about to be the most dramatic hockey series we've ever watched.
It's so
I'm
good.
pretty sure it's out. It's out, right?
It's unreal. It's unreal. It's very, very, very
watch
good.
it.
Yeah, you do.
I gotta watch it. All right. Well, that wasn't in the notes, but thanks for bringing that up, Derek. I do actually appreciate that. Cam Neely said at his press conference, I think it was earlier this week, that he had 64 reasons why to sign Swayman. Well, they signed him for 66 reasons because his contract was it 7 or 8 years, Carlo, for $66 million?
Yeah, it's 8 years, 8.25 for 66 million reasons. It's a good one. Good for Sway. I credit to the Boston Bruins admin on social media. Go check out what they already did. The Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not leaving, with Swayman on the mic, dude. It's hilarious. So credit to them. They've already had a ton of press come out since the minute it got signed, and congrats to Swayman for being probably the only goaltender that hasn't played a full season who just got an absolute bag. So good for him. Hopefully he can. I like Swayman. Hopefully he can earn that paycheck, man, because that's a big one. That's a big one.
He saw their backup and he's like, I got 2 more reasons why you need to sign me.
100%. 100%.
So, good. Honestly, good on Swayman. Just to touch on it a little bit, I loved that he took full control of his contract negotiations along with his agent. I think a lot of players need to exercise their rights a little bit more when it comes to the negotiations. I think we live in a world now where people are so informed and knowledgeable about what goes into it. I mean, Swayman, he went to school with a business degree of some sort, I believe is what they said. So he's a very smart man for what he did, and I don't blame him. But waiting this long in the game, can he have a really good season without being in training camp or preseason? We'll just have to wait and see. So congratulations to him on receiving the bag, but we'll just have to wait and see. I was kind of hoping that it would carry out a little bit longer so the Red Wings can hold on to a third spot in the division to make the playoffs. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's all that we got for today. Let's go ahead and jump into our final thoughts, boys. I almost said boys and girls, but we're all boys here, I think.
Boys and boys.
For now, at least.
Go ahead, Derek. Final thoughts.
Let's go, Red Wings. Preseason's over. Again, it was preseason. I'm going to live on that and jump off a cliff when the real season starts. And it's the same thing. So if you don't see me next week, you know why. Go find a cliff. I'm probably at the bottom of it. But let's go Lions. Yeah, I got a little dark there. I just want the Red Wings to do well, okay? Let me be. Lions are today. Let's go, boys. Let's get another win there. Tigers, we're going to ignore what happened. What was that yesterday? That 0-7 loss. It's okay. Cleveland's good. Whatever. We have, 4 more games? No worries. Okay. Go Detroit fans. We are all great. Go Detroit sports. Let's have a good week here, boys.
I hate to say this to you, Derek, but the Lions do not play today. They are on their bye week. So I'm so sorry. Carlo, you go next.
Screw this. What do you care about football today? Damn it.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good. You should have just let it happen, Zach. You should have just let it happen. 4 more sleeps, boys, and the regular season does start up again. So really, really excited about that. hoping within these next 4 days, our top line learns how to score some goals against ECHL teams, and our D-Corps learns how to clear the zone against ECHL teams. So I hope they're running hard in practice. I hope Lalonde is running them hard in practice, because I don't want to bring back my trademark. I'm not going to do it yet. But it's waiting in the wings, pun intended. Go Tigers. We got lots of good things happening with the Tigers right now. I'm not sure who let them get hot, but they're hot. So let's rock and roll there. And the Lions are going to be playing again next week. And David Montgomery is a beast. And viva la David Montgomery. That's all I got.
Awesome, boys. Yeah, my final thoughts are, let's go Tigers. Let's go Lions. Let's go Wings. No Bears. We hate them. The Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Red Wings, they definitely have to work on it a little bit more. I firmly believe Marco Kasper is going to get an opening night roster spot here.
Yeah.
I think there's a case where someone like Lyon or Berggren or even Veleno can be moved on. I think all three of those players have really good contracts that teams could afford to have, and good serviceable players that they can obviously utilize at their expense. So yeah, let's just wait and see. Opening night is on Thursday. We're going to see potentially about going to 2 episodes a week. Maybe I record right after game nights or something, just to make things a little more smooth on the episodes and make them shorter, but we'll figure it all out. And once again, go ahead and enter in this giveaway. It will be a Twitter giveaway. So yeah, looking forward to that. And with that being said, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.